What's your reaction to that?
It's definitely not just a singing competition. It's much more of a bonding kind of experience because you get to be friends with and have experience working with other people that share your same talents and interests and those kinds of things. And I know that I've made some pretty good friends from Southside, and it doesn't seem just like a competition. It seems more of kind of like a kind of more of like an event or a showcase rather than a comparison. Like, I don't feel judged whenever I do it. Like, I don't feel they're going to say, oh no, this person's better than you, or you're better than this person. It's kind of just based off experience and your capabilities and your comfort on stage. And it definitely helps you get more comfortable, and it broadens your experience range, and it gets you more comfortable. Southside Idol is much more of a program than it is of just a straightforward competition. Our show is in January, so unlike a lot of other competitions where you enter at the beginning of the month and your show is at the end, it's kind of an experience that you take, and you get coaching and you make friends, and we go to restaurants and go bowling and all kind of fun stuff. So it doesn't feel just like a straightforward competition. Well, my name is Carly Rose, but growing up, there was a lot of people with that name, and also a lot of, like, TV show characters and celebrities had that same name. And so everyone thought that I was named after them, but I wasn't. I was named after my family members, and my name is definitely Americanized from our family names. If my name were to be the Italian version of it, it would be Carla Rosa, and there's a lot less of those in the United States, at least. So on social media and those kinds of things, I usually use Carla Rosa because people can recognize that that's me, instead of just somebody else with my name, because there's hundreds of people with it. And I mostly went by Rose because there was a lot less roses in music and in my school. But I've kind of become more well-known, so I was able to put my whole name back because people can see that name and I'm their first thought instead of somebody else.
I don't know very many Carlys, I have to be totally honest with you.
I do. There's a lot of
Really?
them. Yeah,
Oh.
there's a lot of them. And so I kind of was able to put my first part of my name back on there because I became more well-known. But still, it is difficult. Whenever I meet new people, I'll usually have to clarify what my name is because they'll think I'm somebody else. So it's really weird, and it's hard kind of having this name because a lot of people have it. And it's spelled a million different ways. There's one way to spell Rose, so like you can't really mess that up, but there's like 100 ways to spell Carly.
Like C-A-R-L-I.
Yeah.
Or E-E.
Or I-E, or with a K.
Yeah, right.
So it's just really annoying. So that's why a lot of times on social media I'll use Carla Rosa. There's only one way you can spell Carla and one way you can spell Rosa. Like, it's not that hard. You can't really mess it up.
Yeah.
So it's way easier to do that. As for my last name is Brocchi, which is spelled B-R-O-C-C-H-I, so most people cannot sound it out. You'd be surprised. I've heard some interesting pronunciations from substitute teachers. But my last name is obviously my dad's, but he's not Italian. It's his adoptive father's last name. My dad is actually Israeli Jewish. His last name when he was born is Blas, which is very not Italian. It's very Jewish. But he was adopted at a pretty young age by my grandfather, his adoptive father. whose name is Richard Brocchi. So that name was put on there, which I think is funny because my dad has an Italian last name and he's not Italian. But my mom's side of the family is Italian. They're from Naples, Italy, which is in the southern part, down near Sicily, going down that way. And their last name when they were there was Patrone, which is definitely Italian. And my mom's maiden name was Gismondi. The Italian bloodline comes from my mom's father. Her mom, my nana, she is from Slovakia. So I have that sort of gene in me as well. But my predominant ethnicity is Ashkenazi Israeli Jewish. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. And that's from my dad, but I definitely take after the Italian side. As you can tell, I look pretty Italian. So that comes into play from my mom, and my Israeli Jewish comes from my dad. I was born in Gainesville, Florida on June 18th, 2003. I'm a little baby. Everyone in my grade is a year older than me, so immediately puts me at kind of a predisposed outlook. Everyone thinks I'm a year older than I am. I'm 16, I'm not 17. I'm going to graduate when I'm turning 18, not 19. I grew up back and forth between Lake City, Florida, and St. Mary's, Pennsylvania, which is a little bit north of Pittsburgh. I have most of my childhood memories associated with St. Mary's and all of like the good nostalgia of being a little kid in St. Mary's. My grandmother lived there, Nana, she lived there, and my cousins lived right next door, and all of my family lives up in the New England sort of area. So they were all decently close. So I have a lot of really good memories up there. So my mom, her name is Gina. She was born in Cocoa Beach, Florida. Her family lived there at the time. She is a 4th grade teacher at Westside Elementary School. We're not sure how she's still sane. This is year 30? 31. My mom says 31. This is year 31 of teaching elementary school. Huge props to her. Don't know. I couldn't do that. Couldn't do that. So my mom is a big influence in my life. She plays a very big part in managing everything that happens. She loves to read. She can't cook, which is funny because she's Italian. Absolutely cannot cook at all. Love you, though. Love you, Gina. You can't cook.
Perfect.
My dad is a airplane mechanic. He works out at HACO over by Florida Gateway College, where we had Southside Idol. He's worked there for about 20 years now. And he is a very big part of my life. Me and him are like the same person. His name is Craig, and everyone has an ongoing joke that I am Craigette because we look identical, we act identical, and we have the exact same personality. I'm basically a smaller clone of him with longer hair. It gets pretty funny when we antagonize my mother because she always jokes that she lives with 2 of her husbands, just one of them is smaller. So my mom's mom, her name is Roseanne. I was named after her. She is also a very, very big impact in my life. She's one of my favorite people ever. I love her so much.
What do you call her?
I call her Nana, which is Slovak. And she taught me how to cook and how to be a functional member of society. I grew up spending long periods of time with her, which had a very good impact on my life, definitely. Her birthday was just the other day. Her birthday was February 26th. So if you see her, please tell her, happy birthday.
Why don't you tell
Happy birthday, Nana. I hope you love your expensive purse that I bought you. My dad's mom, her name is Carol. I have not spent as much time with her just because she lives further away, and growing up, I wasn't really near where she lives. She lives in Wilmington, North Carolina, and I've recently become closer to her, which I really like. She is a very positive impact in my life also. I get a musical gene from her. She was a singer all of her life, and she also did pointe ballet, so I get my dancing gene from her. We're built exactly the same. I get my physical build from her. She looked exactly like this up until she was like 65. So my mom's father, I never really spent a lot of time with him. He was sick by the time that I was born. And so I don't really have memories of him, but I've heard a lot of stories about him, and apparently we're very similar. And I get a lot of my seriousness and my kind of sixth sense for when something's off from him. He was 100% Italian. He fit the absolute, like, stereotype for Italian. I just wish that I had been able to spend more time with him. He passed away when I was 6. I want to say about 6. But my dad's dad, Richard, he is really cool. I grew up spending time with him. He went to Villanova University in Philadelphia, and he played basketball there. So he, like, lives and breathes everything basketball. And so he got me really excited for that, and that's why I played in middle school and all those kinds of things. I'm not very good now, but...
He's a big fan of yours.
Yes, definitely. Definitely a big fan of mine. But he's really cool. I like spending time with him. We have a lot of the same kind of interests. He always absolutely demolishes me at bowling every time we go. He's fantastic at it, and I don't know how. I don't know what he does to be so good at bowling.
Just talk about your cousins now.
So I come from a very, very big family. My nana had 10 siblings, and pretty much all, if not all of them, had children. And they've had kids. So I have a lot of cousins right around my age, but I didn't get to grow up with them because me, my mom, and my dad were kind of almost isolated in Florida. When we weren't in Pennsylvania, we pretty much had no face-to-face contact with anybody in my family. I have lots of cousins in Detroit, Michigan. I have them all through Pennsylvania and New York and New Jersey and all of those places. And kind of down here in Florida, we're really far away from them. So they all live pretty close to each other within a day's drive. So they got to see each other grow up, and they spent a lot of time with each other, and we didn't. So whenever I see them, it's kind of like I feel almost not quite a part of their lives because I was never in it, just because of how far away we lived.
You didn't spend a lot of time.
Yeah, no.
Where you lived.
Yeah.
In relationship to each other.
I barely spent any time with them just because of how far away we lived, and they spent a lot of time with each other growing up. It kind of makes me feel like an outsider to them almost, just because they know so much about each other, and then here comes this, like, little girl that doesn't really look like them or act like them or anything from Florida, and it's just really kind of disheartening.
What do you think they feel about you?
I mean, I think I get along with them. I mean, I think they like me, but...
Do you have fun with them when they
Yeah,
come down?
yeah. I hope they now come to see us more, but we go see them a lot more just because it's really hard for them to get down here. So we go see them, and when we do, I mean, we have a really good time. It's just, it really sucks because we see them for such a short period of time, and then we go back to kind of being separated and isolated from the rest of our family. So my best friend definitely is this guy named Garrett. He is interesting. He's a little bit on the more wild side. He's very fun to hang out with. Garrett is kind of more of just a very uplifting influence. He makes everybody laugh. Everybody in the room, he makes them laugh.
Has a great sense of humor.
Yes. He has a fantastic sense of humor. He finds light and hilarity in every single situation. And so he never fails to cheer me up or anything like that, which is really good. Hi, Garrett. Your 1/8 Cuban does not make you Hispanic. So I have an older sister figure. Her name is Kayla. She's been in my life for a very, very long time. My entire life, actually. She met me the day after I was born. She is currently 20 years old, so she's a little bit older than me. And she's had a very, very positive impact on my life. She's always been there for me and always stood up for me and those kinds of things. And she is very involved in theater, and she's going to school at the University of North Florida to be a teacher. All the props to her. Could not do that. Absolutely could not be me. But she is very good just in general. She's a very good person, and I benefit a lot from spending a lot of time with her. So I have this friend named Kendall. Her real name is Mackenzie. It's spelled wrong. I give her a lot of crap for that.
Which one is spelled wrong, Kendall or Mackenzie?
Mackenzie. But Kendall is definitely interesting. For Christmas, my dad let her spend $100 on Amazon to get whatever she wanted. And so we were expecting her to get, like clothes or like makeup brushes or maybe a hair straightener. She bought a wig cap, and wig glue because she wanted a wig. And it's not even like a regular wig. It's like a long, silver, like Wicked Witch of the West kind of wig. That embodies her personality pretty well.
So how long have you known her?
I have known Kendall since my high school's production of Fiddler on the Roof last year. She was in the production, but she had to leave our school due to some transportation issues and those kinds of things. So she doesn't go there anymore. She's homeschooled, but she still comes to our house quite a bit. She practically is like a second sibling. So I have been singing for pretty much my entire life. It used to just be mostly like screaming at my mom when I was little. But somebody first told me that I was like a decent singer instead of like a just screaming. Was my first voice coach, actually. Her name is Stacy Roach. She lives in Indiana now. But it was during a school production and when I was in like elementary school. And she came up to my mom and she said, "Hey, Gina, please let me give your daughter vocal lessons. I'll do it for free," because she had been trying for a long time and my mom kind of didn't go along with that. So she finally gave in and said okay. And so I immediately started being trained in jazz, which is interesting because usually you start being trained classically and then you work towards whatever genre you feel most comfortable. But at the age of like 8, I want to say around 8, I immediately started being trained in 1940s jazz. Because of that, my lower register was developed to be very rich and sultry and those kinds of things, and my upper register is not quite as strong, just because we spent a lot more time focusing on getting my lower range to be lower, so that I could sing jazz, and so therefore my speaking voice kind of developed pretty low. So my speaking voice is very easy to listen to because it's pretty deep. I've kind of had the same musical inspiration pretty much my entire life, just because I was immediately put into jazz training. My biggest inspirations are definitely Ella Fitzgerald and Frank Sinatra, just because when I was little, I always wanted to sing like them. And now I can, which is kind of still crazy to me that I was able to do something besides just sing pop music. So whenever I was little, my dad brought home this dog. And if you know me personally, you've heard stories about this dog. She is a Jack Russell Terrier. She's all white. She doesn't have any spots. And her name is Roxy. None of us are really sure how to spell it. Some people spell it with a Y on the end. Some people spell it with an IE. It was never really documented. And her middle name, yes, my dog has a middle name. Her middle name is Star with 2 R's on the end.
Roxy Star Brocky?
Yeah.
Did I get that right?
That's my dog. She is insane. Like, if you think that your dog is crazy, you haven't met our dog. I also have an older brother sort of figure in my life. His name is Orlando. If you go to my school, you know Orlando. He's definitely crazy, but he is from Cuba, and so he has the same kind of Italian gene where it's your family is very important. And luckily, I am considered family. I would not want to be on a bad side of him. He has taught me jujitsu and all of those kinds of things. He's a very good fighter. Would not want to pick a fight with him. But he is very cool. And he's definitely a good older brother sort of figure. Anytime that somebody's like mean to me or anything like that, I can just tell him and he handles it. So as for musical influences in my life, there's this guy named Mike Mullis. He's really cool. He has a band. It's called Faster Than Flash. We go and see his band play all the time. But he actually helped me when writing my first real song that I got produced, which is the song that I played on piano. So I have a couple different vocal coaches right now. One I work with, Matt Johns. He and his band played for Southside Idol. He's fantastic, and I've worked with him for about 5 years now. He is crazy musical, knows everything about music, and he's a really, really good influence on keeping me kind of interested and progressing in music. I did teach myself how to play the piano, and Matt is working with me now because you can only teach yourself so much. So he's working with me now to kind of get that skill level bumped up a little bit. And my other vocal coach is Tony Buzella, who is also affiliated with Southside Idol, and I actually work for him at his school. He owns a school. It's called North Florida Academy of Arts and Sciences. It's a performing arts school, and I work there Monday through Thursday in the mornings, helping with everything. And I have lessons with him usually once a week, every other week. And we work a lot on jazz sort of stuff and just we have a lot of fun doing it. He has a big music studio, and so we just have a lot of fun. So for my first song for Southside Idol, I sang a song called Make It Rain by Ed Sheeran. And I picked this song because it really showcases my lower register. Because singing high songs has always been difficult for me. And just because everybody else, their first songs are always like, look at me, I've got pipes. And so I kind of wanted to pick something different. So I picked a much lower kind of sultry sort of song that you had to show emotion in and those kinds of things. And I just really like the song. I think it's pretty bluesy. It's really nice. And the dress I wore for that song is actually my oldest Russian cousin's high school prom dress. She's a good bit taller than me, so it didn't really fit that well. So I had to glue it to my body, like with wig glue, the wig glue that Kendall ordered for Christmas. We used that, and we glued the dress to my skin.
Particularly the sleeves.
Particularly the sleeves, but also like this area. Mm-hmm. And we had to dry it with a hairdryer, like in my bathroom. And, you know, of course, with my luck, the glue came off right as I started singing. So I was kind of struggling with that while I was singing the song.
So you had an authentic wardrobe malfunction.
Literally, yes. But I mean, like, it wasn't going to fall or anything because it was very tight. Like, it wasn't going to fall off. It was just like the sleeves were falling and it was getting annoying.
You were correcting it.
I was trying.
You were keeping it up as you sang, but it didn't seem like it distracted you.
No, it didn't distract me or anything. It was just, like, annoying.
Yeah. But you did a good job with cloaking the problem.
I tried to cover it up as best I could. I, like, held the microphone with the hand that was falling so that it would stay up.
That was pretty cool.
But, yeah, my dress was glued to my body, and whenever I went to take it off, I kind of had to, like, rip some of my skin off with the glue. So my second song is called Le Vie en Rose, and I did sing the first half of it in French, which kind of threw everybody for a loop. No one was really expecting that.
I wasn't.
But the song is done on Broadway, and it was originally done in 1940-ish by Edith Piaf. And ever since I heard the original version of the song, I just knew that I wanted to sing it. And I actually learned the song in one night. Before, like, a cultural festival thing at my church that I had to sing the song at. I do not speak French. I can kind of sound out some words in French. I know there's, like, a lot of extra letters that, like, don't do anything. They're just there to make it harder.
But the phonics are improved through singing.
Yes. And so I had to kind of learn how to sing in a language that I don't know how to speak. So I listened to the song so many times that if I heard it one more time, it would have made, like, my ears bleed. Just so that I could pronounce the words correctly. And if you listen to, like, an old version of the song from when I was first learning how to sing it, it sounds like it's a completely different language. It's really bad. But I worked on it pretty much every day, and so it got way better. My third song is called Merci on Me by Christina Aguilera, and I actually got stuck with the song to start with. I kind of put it down as, like, a placeholder song, and then I lost track of time, and it was too late for me to change the song. So I had to learn this really, really hard song in a super short period of time. Because I wasn't planning on singing that song, so I wasn't really that concerned about, like, learning it. There's a really high note in that song, which is I had never hit before I sang it on stage that night. Every time I would practice it, I just wouldn't hit that note because I couldn't. So my adrenaline on stage, I I could hit it. And my secondary plan was, if I was about to like lead up to that note and I just felt like, no, you're not going to be able to hit it, then I would just sing like a harmony note down to it so that it worked, but I didn't have to like kill my vocal cords to get all the way up there. But I kind of like go on autopilot as soon as I step out on stage, so I wasn't really thinking about it. And I hit the note. For the first time ever in my life, I was able to sing that note, which is crazy. So Matt John's band is the band that accompanies all of us for Southside Idol. They are super great to work with. They're crazy talented, and they can play pretty much any song that you ask them to. He is kind of a jack of all trades when it comes to music.
Yep.
He can play pretty much any instrument and sing all styles of music. And he's a great vocal coach because he can coach pretty much any style of music. So Wayne is the director and coordinator of Southside Idol.
He's the founder.
He is also the founder of Southside Idol. This year was the 10th anniversary.
You won the 10th anniversary.
I did. I won the 10th anniversary. The show would not be possible without him, definitely. He runs kind of everything that we don't see so that we don't have to worry about it. And he makes sure everything works out great. And I would never have had this experience if it wasn't for him, and I definitely wouldn't have kind of come out of my shell quite as much if it wasn't for him. So I know he's going to see this, but I just want to thank him for that, really. Thank you, Wayne. You're fantastic. I love you so much. You do a lot for me. Anthony, he is hilarious. Every time we go hang out with him, like our group of Southside contestants, we would go bowling or all kind of things with him. It was so funny. He would always make all of us laugh. And he is just a really good person to kind of have working with us because he kind of puts light on such a stressful situation, which we all really need. And he definitely encouraged all of us a lot.
He's a good guy. What was going through your head?
When they hadn't called my name, I was getting kind of anxious because I thought for sure that I was going to make it to the third round. And the fact that they didn't say it was making me, and no doubt my friends and my family, very nervous, to say the least. Well, me and Katrina were both nervous, and we were holding hands, and we were kind of talking to each other, and we were saying like how proud of each other we were and that we both deserved it. And we would be okay with whatever the outcome was because we know that we both worked really hard and we're both super talented for it. And when they called her for second place, I kind of didn't believe it. Like, my first initial thought was like, are they gonna Miss America me? Because like, I thought that she probably should have won.
Her name was called.
I look very confused, and that's because I am confused because I wasn't expecting to win at all.
Was you expecting to win last year?
No, last year I actually wasn't expecting to get in the top 5 when I got second. I wasn't expecting that. But this year I definitely was not expecting to win. And so when I found out I did, I kind of went into like shock almost. And I really didn't recover until like the next day. So besides singing and playing musical instruments, that takes up most of my time. I do have some free time left. And one of my biggest hobbies is definitely dancing. I've done ballet. I did it whenever I was younger, and then I quit for a while, and then I got back into it a couple years ago. One of my favorite parts of dance is definitely contemporary, but I also love doing point. And I actually have my point shoes right here. So let's do a really quick point shoe haul and review. So these are my point shoes. They are Russian points. Everyone hates Russian points because they are very tapered and long, but they work very well for my feet because my feet are tiny. Do you see how small this is? This is the size of my head. It's very small. So Russians work really well for me because my toes are very narrow also. And I have pretty good arches, so this works pretty well for my feet. These are my toe pads. They're silicone. They're pretty thick because my toes are kind of short. So
is that by design?
Yes.
Okay.
So they kind of put a little bit of extra stuff at the top.
So is it custom made for you?
No,
or you
these
just
aren't.
Order them like that.
Yeah, I just order them thicker.
I got you.
This type because they're thicker instead of like cloth ones because they're thinner. So they're also a little bit thicker on the sides because my toes are very narrow. And so it works really well to go right down in there. It works pretty well for my little tiny baby feet. Point is on point shoes. Ballet you can do in flat shoes, but ballet also works for point. So these are regular ballet shoes, right? They have no structure. They're just flat. You can see how small my feet are. They're filthy. These are my regular, just flat ballet shoes that I use
so you don't
in class
tippy-toe
mostly.
with those?
No. These you just go like that. You just stand on your toes, like how normal people, just how normal people stand on their toes. You do that in these. These are hard. Like if I were to hit these together, it has wood in there. And so you stand with your toes facing down in here. And here you would just stand on your toes regularly with them facing this way. I do actually. I started writing music in middle school. Middle school was a pretty dark time of my life, just emotionally and mentally and all those kinds of things. So I wrote this song. Looking back on it, it's really dark, but it kind of was written as almost like a cry for help, for somebody to please listen to me. And it kind of talks about feeling helpless and like you're drowning out in this ocean and you think that you can see the beach, but you just can't quite get there. So all through middle school, I felt really alone, even when I was surrounded by people that cared about me. And I know a lot of people go through that, and it's kind of become like taboo to talk about, but I don't think that that's okay. I think we need to have it become more normal, and
we need to talk about it.
We need to talk about it, because if somebody's too scared to say anything, you're not going to get any better. And for the longest time, nobody I would talk to believed me, so I wouldn't say anything about it anymore, and it just kept manifesting itself, and it would get worse and worse to the point where I couldn't get out of bed. Yeah, it's kind of become like a societal norm where young children can't feel that way, and like, oh, you're just so young, you have nothing to be sad about. It's not entirely dependent on being sad. A lot of it is genetic. And I don't know how many times I've been told, you're too young to feel this way. All you have to do is make the choice to be happy. That doesn't change anything. And the fact that people think that that is the cure for it makes me think that this needs to be talked about more. Because it's been suppressed to the point that people do not believe that it's real. And that's not okay. Because I know that my time dealing with this was horrible, and I wouldn't want anybody else to feel that way. The more light that is brought onto the situation, the better resources these people can access. So my mom called a therapist, and I went and I started going to therapy, and the therapist worked with a psychiatrist who then diagnosed me with major depressive disorder. And I went to my doctor, and I was prescribed Prozac, which is a non-addictive antidepressant. People that I see now that maybe I haven't seen since I started taking it say that I'm like an entirely different person, because I am. I act like a completely different person. But you can't expect that change to happen overnight.